let's talk Joson Sanon. Let's talk Jamari Phillips. We're in the NIL era. I have no problem with people going to the highest bidder. I honestly don't. If that's what they want to do, I have no problem with it. They've got to make a business decision. These are people that are making business decisions, and you're talking at times about generational money. Joson Sanon was never coming to the U of A. He was always going to the highest bidder. He was a lock to get into or to go to BYU. He could not get in for a variety of reasons, but it also means that he's going to ASU. So when, if somebody thinks I'm bashing a kid for going to the highest bidder, I don't. Nobody knows here. I'll never know what it's like to have $2 million thrown at me to play basketball or whatever the case may be. So, like I said, I think some people thought I was taking a shot at the kid when in actuality, it's the exact opposite. I have no problem with a kid going to the highest bidder, Saul.
No, there's zero problem at all. Like, I'm fine with it. And I know there's some people that are judging him for going to the highest bidder, but he's 18 years old. I'm sorry, folks. Like, if I'm 18 years old, think about when you were 18 years old. If somebody said, hey, I want to give you $2 million to go do that, hell, $200,000 to go play basketball at this place or that place. Like, are you going to do it? Yeah, you're going to do it. And you're going to do it with a smile on your face all the way to the bank. We can judge kids all we want, but like, until we've been in that position and understand like what the reality is of that situation is, it is hard to comprehend that kind of money being thrown at you to play the game that you grew up loving your whole life at the highest level. Like, I'm totally cool with it.
You've also got to understand too, in this day in NIL, unless you're a school like a Kentucky that's kind of got unlimited money, you also have to be able to navigate where your expenditures go. Let's use Oumar Ballo, leader of men, as an example. Oumar Ballo got paid $1.2 million. Guess what? Arizona, and I'm just throwing a number out here, Arizona can have Mount Crevis for $150,000, $175,000. That is, you've got to start looking at it. And I know some people don't like it, but that's just the way it is. You've got to start looking at the return on your investment. Would you rather allocate $1.2 million to Oumar Ballo, or would you rather put $175,000 into Mount Crevis? Kind of the same thing with Joson Sanon. When it came down to it, guess what? Caleb Love is probably going to make northwards of $500,000 this year. Probably somewhere in that. Guess what? If it comes down to paying Joson Sanon, or it comes down to paying Caleb Love for a season, they're going to pay Caleb Love every single day of the week, because that's what they're going to do. And they know that. That's just the way it is, Saul. This is a business at this point. And I think people need to understand that there's a lot that goes into this.
You have to look at the return on investment. You have to. You don't know what that return on investment is going to be with the freshman coming in out of nowhere. You know what you're going to get with Caleb Love. Like, that is an easy decision, especially for less than half the cost, right? Like, and whether we like it or not, like, and I hate how this is all like shifted everything across the country for sports. I don't like it at all, but it is the reality of the situation. And so as a program, you have to evaluate and you have to think about, do you want to invest your money in star players, but only have like one or two of them? And then you got to fill the rest of your roster out with, guys that maybe are not up to that Big 12 standard, but they've been decent in other conferences? Or do you get a well-rounded team all the way across the board that is a solid, fundamental, solid team that can get you to the tournament and maybe possibly to the Final Four? You got to make that decision. You look at something like, Connecticut, they've got a little bit of both, but they've been fortunate to be able to find that nice little groove and develop their players to a point where they can win back-to-back national championships. Not everybody's in that same boat. Not everybody's figured that out in that kind of time frame. And essentially, you have to do what's best for your program, and you got to do the smartest thing for your program.
Right, exactly. And you've also got to look at the fit. Now, again, I'm not going to bash Joson Sanon again here, but Joson Sanon wants shots. He wants to be in the NBA in a year. Again, not bashing the kid. I get it. He wants to be in the NBA in a year. If you go to Arizona, you have drastically different expectations as a team than you do at, say, ASU. No offense. But with they can't necessarily promise you what Bobby Hurley is going to be able to promise you from a shot perspective, because you're going to have other dudes on there that have the same exact goals as you. So you've got to be able to keep that in mind. And when it comes down to a money and when it comes down to a fit, those are really, really big parts of it. Also, shout out Loudon. Come say hi to me when you see me, dude. Also, now let's talk Jamari Phillips for a second. This is an entirely different situation. Jamari Phillips wanted to play. Jamari Phillips wants to play immediately. His camp has made that very clear. Arizona couldn't promise him that playing time. So again, you go somewhere else. Another one, no harm, no foul. I wish the kid nothing but the best. I think he's going to be a good player. I very much like his father. I like Jamari's game as well. But we're also kind of in a win now mode, and players want to play. That's just the way it is. He's probably going to end up at USC, and I wish him nothing but the best. I mean, this isn't, this isn't rocket science. Some kids just want to be able to play.
This is when I wish I was behind the scenes and I could hear what the U of A coaches and the coaching staff was saying to Phillips about his potential role on the team, not only this year but also moving forward. And as a parent, I understand you want your kid to play. I do, but what's the long-term outlook here? Is it to get to the NBA? Because if that's the goal, and I assume that is, then you want to be a part of a program that has shown the development over the years to get players to that league. So why would you leave U of A knowing that you have to earn your keep in the early going? Like, the best programs are going to make you earn your keep. Like, they could promise you, listen, man, coaches lie all the time. They could sit there and say, like, yeah, you're going to start, man. You're going to start. You're going to start. You're going to start. You're going to start. And you're looking at the roster and you're like, but you got like 2 All-Americans coming back and the defensive player of the year, and you got like, okay, if you say I'm going to start, I'm going to believe you, and then you get to the season, you don't even come close to starting. Like, we could have done that, but they didn't. They said, no, you're going to have to work to get your spot. And I think that's okay. But Jamari wanted to go somewhere and play immediately. That's fine. But there's a sacrifice to going to USC. And it's going to be traveling across the country 89,000 times a season to go play in cold weather games against teams like Wisconsin and Purdue. Like, are you going to enjoy that? I don't know. We'll see. You're a West Coast kid. I find that very hard to believe.
One thing, too, that I always caution people is, and I'm just saying this in general, but it doesn't, if a kid decommits, it doesn't help the kid at all for anybody to go bash the school. It doesn't, because if you're a school and you're looking at a kid later on down the line and you're like, well, this is what happened when they decommitted before. Is that something I really want to deal with? It just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense to do that. Just move, like I said, move on. Wish everybody nothing but the best on both sides, because the Arizona's not going to bash anybody. So it just doesn't make any sense. And I've never really understood that. Again, I get that sometimes you get upset because everybody's parent in this day and age thinks that their kid is Kyrie Irving. And that they're trust me. I mean, everybody thinks their kid's Kyrie Irving. They stare at rankings, they stare at things, and they think their kid's a different position than they are, all kinds of stuff. But it just does nobody any good. And I always say that it doesn't do anybody any good to bash the school, because it's only going to come back on the person that has nothing to do with this, and that's your kid at that point. So I always caution against that.
Yeah. Again, like Joseph says, I think it's fair to call out U of A if they did lie, though. Same energy for any other school. Like, I get that. However, like, there's a difference between lying and
things change in life too.
And telling kids like one thing at one point, and then there's a sudden shift, and now you have to kind of change the story because maybe you didn't have a couple options that you thought you were gonna. Like, when this all started and Jamari was here, there was a decent chance that Caleb Love was going to be gone, that KJ Lewis might have been gone, hell, even Jaden Bradley might have been gone, right? But and then we didn't know what was going to happen with Boswell, right? So those are 4 significant changes that could have happened. Well, now 3 of those 4 came back. Right. And now you don't really need Jamari as much as you needed him at first. And you can't promise him and guarantee that he's going to get as many minutes as you once thought he was going to be able to. So I don't think it's necessarily lying. It's just saying, hey, I'm being straight up with you. And I do believe Tommy is straight up with the kids. I do believe that. I do believe that he's like, hey, as much as I would love X, Y, and Z to happen, this has changed. And that's why this is the situation. Right. Okay. If you don't like that, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you got lied to. It just means that the situation changed. And maybe sometimes it's unpredictable.
And again, like you just said, you put it very well. Life changes. Life comes at you at different points. Again, the coaching staff didn't believe at midseason that Caleb Love was going to be coming back to the U of A. By the end of the season, they had a pretty good idea that he probably was going to be coming back to the U of A. So you got to be able to take all of that into account. One parent I want to give a massive, massive shout out to here, and this is a guy that's been through the through the ringer, played obviously at a high level. His brother was a McDonald's All-American, is Carter Bryant's father, Deshaun. He is first of all, he's a very good follow on Twitter. And we've had him on a number of times. And I asked him, I was like, do you have any goal? Do you have any time frame for how long you want, before Carter go into the NBA or whatever? And he said, no, man. He said, that's all. He says, we'll take that one step at a time. I got full faith in Tommy Lloyd. He said Carter chose Arizona because of Tommy Lloyd and his development. And he said, I'm going to stay out of this one. And if that time comes, then we'll obviously have a talk with coach. But that's where you also see, too, some of the people that have been through the process, that know the process. Again, he played at Long Beach State. His brother was a McDonald's All-American. He was just a refreshing when you find parents like that know at the end of the day what exactly they signed up for, and trusting the process, Twin Mama, trusting the process.
Yeah, you're not coming to some bottom feeder program here, right? Like, again, I don't understand why you wouldn't trust that process if you've seen it play out for multiple players every single year to get to the league, right? And I think Tommy Lloyd has proven that. The Arizona program by itself has proven that years and years and decades, right? So if you're Carter Bryant, you got to trust the process and understand that you're a high-level athlete, high-level player, and if you do things the right way, you're going to find yourself on draft night, as a lottery pick or in the first round. And so that's the goal. That's the target. And I do love that perspective, right? Like, what's the rush here, right? You're getting paid. The difference between now and back in the day is you weren't getting paid back in the day, or at least not legally.
Right.
And, so you never knew, like, if you tore your ACL, is that it for you? You just have no idea. But now you're getting paid, and you're getting paid pretty good. So what's the rush? Go through the system, go through the development process, and find yourself in the NBA at whatever time that you choose to go. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And parents that have unrealistic expectations because they have their own self-interest in mind. And I'm not saying that this is Jamari. I'm not saying this is anybody out there. I'm not referencing any particular parent whatsoever. But I do know that there has been parents that have thought about their kids in a certain light and refuse to see anything but that light because of their own self-interest in getting them to get to the league to make that money, to make life a little bit better for themselves. And that's not the way you need to approach it. As a parent, and I'm not telling anybody how to be a parent, but as a parent, I would just let my kid go through that process. I would advise them whenever necessary, or whenever, they ask, hey, Dad, I need some advice. I don't know what to do here. Cool. But it should be his process. It should be their process.
He's going to be the one living there.
Yeah, it's not like whether they make billions of dollars someday or not. Like, I don't expect anything. That's just on them. Kick me back a truck. Cool. That's fine. They took care of Pops. I appreciate that. But it's not for me. I didn't put the work in. I don't have the gift. I'm not the one that's the elite level athlete. It's you. So go out there and do what you got to do. And I'm here to help guide you.